Now, hockey is a pretty popular sport in Canada. It's not actually the official national sport. The official national sport is lacrosse. The Toronto Maple Leafs are the NHL, National Hockey League's most valuable franchise. Is anyone hopping off to stop 20 the Hockey Hall of Fame? No, okay. Is everybody just going back to stop 1? Or do we have anyone hopping off earlier? No response. Okay, thank you. It's hard, I can't see your faces. Now, on the left-hand side, you're going to see this red brick building. This is the William Flatiron building. Similar to the one in New York City, this one was built 10 years earlier. It was constructed in 1892. And when it was built, Torontonians were afraid to walk alongside it. They thought it was too tall and too skinny, and a big gust of wind would blow it over on top of them. You'll get a good idea of exactly the shape of it as we move forwards. It's shaped a bit like a wedge or a slice of cake. Now, would anyone like to hop off for stop 21, the St. Lawrence Market today? Nobody hopping off. Okay, take a look behind you guys. You'll see one of those photograph views in the city. Stunning. It's the William Flatiron building with the 2 TV buildings behind it, the gold building in the middle, and the CN Tower to the side of it. Okay, good to go. So just to the right of us is the St. Lawrence Market. It's a food produce market. Last year it was voted as the #1 food market in the world, according to National Geographic magazine. And it consistently makes the list of the top 10 in Food and Wine magazine. Hello? I'm going to go a bit because I think the people at the front will be able to hear me a bit better, because there's no speakers at the front. So you can get lots of different types of food there. You can get different types of cheese, different types of honey, mustard, salt, seafood, meat, vegetables, whatever you're looking for. The building itself used to be our old city hall in 1845. So we're now in the old town, the oldest portion of our city. It's a 10-block square. And this street that we're coming along is the original shoreline for the city. So over to the right of us, it would have been a 30-foot trip into Lake Ontario, but we have extended our waterfront. So all of the land that you can see to the right, down to the waterfront, is all man-made. It's all landfront. Mostly from when we were digging out the subway system, and when we were digging out our underground shopping system. This is also the bumpiest street in the city. Just to warn you. You get the real old town feel, you know? So, Toronto was the original name for this area. It was a native word, or is a native word rather. It means a variety of different things, depending who you talk to. It can mean where trees stand in water, or the meeting place. Now, the meeting place is a good name for Toronto, because we are the most multicultural city in the world. 50% of people living in Toronto were not born in Canada at all. Very, very diverse population. But when John Graves Simcoe, the first Lieutenant Governor of Upper Canada, the British colony, when he founded a town here, he called it the town of York, because he didn't like the name Toronto. But no one really liked the name York, because there is another York nearby, New York. It's always been a little bit bigger than us. Oh, you guys are from New York? Nice. So it's always been a bit bigger than Toronto. So we were getting called Little York. And our streets were made of clay and got very muddy. So we were being called Little Muddy York. Not the best nickname. So we changed the name back to Toronto in 1834 when we were incorporated as a city.
You like it.
Now to the right of us, the big wax carnival. No? Not super exciting, okay. Just wait till we go through it. No, I'm kidding, we won't be doing that. You can guess what might have used to... You can guess what used to be here by the name of the street. Parliament Street. This is where our parliamentary buildings used to stand. They stood here until the War of 1812. So, in the War of 1812, the Americans and the British Empire had a conflict. And the American soldiers came up here in the Battle of York. They burned down our parliamentary building. We retaliated, going south and burning down the President's mansion. Later to be known as the White House. We didn't actually manage to burn it down entirely, just scorched it pretty badly. And we rebuilt our parliamentary buildings here, but then accidentally burned them down ourselves a couple of years later. So now they're in Ottawa, safe from Toronto fire. So you guys got the White House, and we got the Big Rex Tower. I think I may have got a better deal. I mean, you can't get a car wash at the White House. Now, I don't like to hop off the Stop 22, the distillery district. Nope, nobody hopping off here. Okay. So called because it used to be the Goodham and Worts whiskey distillery. In the 1860s, this was the largest whiskey distillery in the world. It was because the water in Toronto wasn't safe to drink. It was filled with cholera. If you drank it, you would die. So we drank whiskey instead. Between 6 to 8 shots a day. So I don't remember much about the 1860s. I know we had a good time. Just gonna let these people on, guys. Okay guys, we're going to be moving on so everyone can just take a seat. You could just sit down on the seat for me, just because we're coming up to some branches, thanks. Okay. So today, in the distillery district, it's not a whiskey distillery anymore. The business declined in the 1900s. Due to the 2 world wars and Canada's brief flirtation with prohibition. So it closed down at the end of the 20th century and it reopened at the beginning of the 21st century today. And today it's a pedestrianised village, basically. A pedestrianised village. So it's lots of brick pathways, shops, bars, cafes, restaurants, a chocolate maker, a brewery, theatre companies, a school, all independent businesses. Inside heritage buildings. Yeah, it's pretty nice. It's used a lot for filming. All of the outdoor scenes from the film Chicago were filmed there. Yeah, and the gates at the front are the ones that Magneto bends with his mind in X-Men. So now we're coming into Corktown, named after the County Cork in Ireland. Any Irish on board? No. I can say that we got no. Just to the left is the Enoch Turner Schoolhouse. First free school in the city, oldest standing school. So this is actually where the early Irish immigrants arrived when they fled the Great Famine in the 1840s. And they couldn't afford to pay the school fees, and they couldn't afford to pay the pew fees that you had to pay to go to church in the 1800s, because they'd spent most of their money getting over to Canada. So this is also Little Trinity Church, first free church, and oldest standing church. Both Little Trinity and the Enoch Turner Schoolhouse were built by Enoch Turner, who was a local philanthropist. And he built them for the sake of the Irish. Now, Toronto's actually got a long history with the Irish. The largest ethnic minority in Toronto in the 1800s was Irish, 75% Protestant, 25% Catholic. That had a big influence on Toronto's early politics. All of the first 5 mayors in Toronto were Protestant. So, of course, that had an influence on the policies and laws that they created. Now, we're coming down King Street here. Above our heads, you will notice some wires. You may also notice that my microphone has become more buzzy. That is because these wires are filled with electricity. Please resist all temptation to reach up and touch them. You don't seem like a rowdy bunch, but I have to mention it. If you touch them, you will die. And if you don't die, you'll be fined $5,000 by the city of Toronto. So it's not worth it. I don't want to do it. Now, they're not just there to make our tour more exciting, although they do that. They're actually there for the streetcars, trolleys or trams. We call them streetcars here in Toronto. You can see one just ahead, the red and white vehicle. Yep, just directly ahead of us. We're one of the only cities in North America that still uses the original network that we started with. And the King Streetcar route, the one we're on, is the busiest in the city. 50,000 people use this streetcar every single day. And we're also still in Old Town Toronto. Now, you might not think that it looks especially old, but that's because we've had a bit of trouble with fire. So, all the buildings are originally built out of wood. And of course, the trouble with wood is that it is flammable. We've had 2 great fires in Toronto. I don't mean like, oh, what a great fire. Let's have another one. But obviously, devastating fires. First one took place in 1849, burned down the entire city. Second one took place in 1904, burned down the entire city again. Yeah, pretty devastating. Luckily, only one person lost their life in either fire. It was the editor of the Patriot newspaper. But oddly, the offices of the Patriot were actually one of the only buildings to survive both fires. He, unfortunately, ran back in to get some burning documents and never came out. This area is also known as the Design District. So you'll notice lots of furniture shops, kitchen appliance stores. There's a store up ahead on the right that sells Arga, Grange and Candile, and that is where the offices of the Patriot newspaper were. So you'll see it coming up on our right. And you'll notice that it's yellow brick on the side, red brick on the back because of the fire damage. This one here. And now on our right you're going to see St. James Gardens, planted with sweet-smelling flowers. Originally to mask the scent of industry, now just because it's pleasant. Now just next to them is St. James Cathedral. This is the second tallest church in Canada after St. Joseph's Oratory in Montreal. This is not the original building though, guys. Guess what happened to the original building? It did burn down. Well done. How did you get it? Twice, actually. And it sits on Church Street, which is actually named after St. James. But there are 3 cathedrals and 10 churches along Church Street. Very, very aptly named. Now, would anyone like to hop off at stop 23 for the King Edward Hotel? Nope. Okay, good stuff. We're all going back to Dundas Square. So the King Edward Hotel is this building on the left with the blue awnings. It's rumored to be the most haunted building in the city. The most haunted building, yeah. Just this one here to the right with the blue awnings. So it was built on the old hanging grounds. He used to have to be hanged for a number of crimes, including forging a $1 bill and singing, humming or whistling Yankee Doodle Dandy. Do you know the song Yankee Doodle Dandy? You guys can sing it. You know it? You know the song?
No, yes.
How's this start?
Ele eu acho.
So it's an American song, and that was back when the Americans and the Brits weren't friends. It was considered treason to sing an American song in the centre of Toronto. It's not a crime anymore though, so we can go home. Lots of celebrities have stayed at the King Eddie as well, including Mark Twain, Britney Spears, Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton stayed there, and the Beatles had to be barricaded into their rooms as 3,000 fans stormed the lobby. Now on our left, in this left-hand corner, you can see one King West that's got red flags out the front. Look up, you'll see the condo tower at the top, rumoured to be the narrowest condo tower in the world. And now we're in the financial district, home to the 5 major banks in Canada. We've got Royal Bank of Canada, Scotiabank, Canadian Imperial Bank of Commerce, Toronto Dominion Bank, and the Bank of Montreal. So we're a pretty important city in terms of economics and finance, one of the 5 leading centres for economics. And we actually have the leading stock exchange in mining, oil and gas. And if you look on the left-hand diagonal, nestled in these black glass buildings, you'll see a little stone beige building that says Toronto Stock Exchange along the front of it. So that was the original Toronto Stock Exchange. Now it's no longer a stock exchange, but of course they can't change the words on the front because it's part of the Heritage Act. The building's older than 100 years. So they've just had to incorporate the original building into these big new buildings, which they've just built around it like a hat. So now it's part of the Toronto Dominion Bank. And our actual stock exchange sits underneath the Bank of Montreal, just on the right-hand corner here, the white building. You can see the trading prices scrolling around this blue screen. So BMO, also known as First Canadian Place, this particular building, because the Bank of Montreal was the first one to be built in Canada, or established. If you look up, this is the tallest building in Canada. It's 72 stories high. But Donald Trump wanted to go the tallest building in Canada. So he built this building to the right, Trump International Hotel and Towers. But he hit the recession, and he had to cut it short. Oh, it's only 68 stories high, and we call it the Trump stump. For 2 amps. So you know you're in the financial district, because the bar is actually called Suits, and there's trading prices going around the back of the bar, which I always think either means they're drinking at work, or working without drinking. Either way, it doesn't seem like an ideal situation. If you could just sit down please guys. Sorry, the lights are going to change and it's going to move forwards, and you will be happy. So, does anyone know the TV show Suits? Nobody? Okay, well it's a TV show. And it's filmed in Toronto. We also film the TV show Beauty and the Beast. And they film a lot of other things in the city. Basically, production companies get discounts for filming here in Toronto. And they can make Toronto pretty much look like New York or Chicago or any other major city they need to. Now directly up ahead of us at the end of this street you can see Old City Hall. This was designed by E.J. Lennox, who also designed Casa Loma and the King Edward Hotel. And it's now a courthouse. It's no longer our City Hall. Our City Hall sits just next to it, with 2 carriage buildings around a white saucer. That's where our mayor, Rob Ford, has his offices. We want to go and have a word with him. Some of you may have heard of World Film. We've been in the newspaper a little bit lately. Now in front of New City Hall there's a square called Nathan Phillips Square, named after the first Jewish mayor here in Toronto. Was anybody hoping to hop on to stop 24, Queen and Young? Or is everyone just going back to stop 1? You guys are going to hop off for 24? Okay.
जैसे अपन ये बैंक सर्विस के एरिया में आए ना ऑफिस के फाइनेंशियल सेंटर तो सब लोगों की ड्रेस पे तो अलग है इंस्टीट्यूट जो निकली सब ऐसी कॉमर्स पहनी जाती होगी
I swear, they put this scaffolding up to the tarpaulin because they were cleaning the windows of this building. Look at it. Now, back to our right, that's a restaurant. There's some good food if you're looking for somewhere to eat in the city. Busy. So the building that you can see just ahead on the right, the sort of pinkish, yellowish stone building, this is the Bay. So the Bay is Canada's largest department store. It's owned by the Hudson's Bay Company. And they used to be a fur trading company. So they're actually the oldest corporation in Canada. Second oldest corporation in North America entirely, after Harvard. So the Hudson's Bay Company was a fur trading company. Now they're no longer engaging in the fur trade, but they do actually still make the wool blankets that they used to trade with the natives for the beaver pelts. Those blankets have a kind of iconic status here in Canada. They're white with big broad stripes across them in yellow, green, red and blue. So if you're looking for a very distinctive souvenir, A blanket will set you back about $300 though. Fairly steep. When they were a fur trading company, they were actually the first fur trading company to move their operations into the northwest of Canada. That meant that for a while, they were the largest landowner in the world. Today, a department store, of course, so they're home to things like Ralph Lauren, Topman, Coach, Burberry. The building itself used to be Simpsons, the retailers. And the Simpsons were the direct rivals of the Eaton family. So they literally had their stores across the street from one another. And you'll be able to see, as we move forward, some of the windows still have a backwards S in them. So you can see the influence of Simpsons. There we go, these ones here on the flash floor. So if you could sit down, sorry. Thank you. Now, directly up ahead of us, on the left-hand side, you can see St. Michael's Hospital. Sometimes known as the Urban Angel. Did I say right? I meant left. St. Michael's was founded by nuns from the St. Michael's Catholic Cathedral. And we do have free public healthcare here in Canada, but in Ontario you have to have lived in the province for 3 months in order to qualify for a health card. So some people don't qualify, of course, but they can be treated at St. Mike's, hence the nickname of the Urban Angel. They actually have a marble angel in the lobby of this hospital as well. Now, we're about to pass by a church on the right-hand side. This is the Metropolitan United Church of the United Church of Canada. It's home to the second largest pipe organ in Canada. The largest one is in Calgary. And then up ahead, we've got St. Michael's Catholic Cathedral, where the nuns came from who founded St. Michael's Hospital. Modelled after York Minster in York, England. There we go. It's home to the Archbishop of Toronto, Archbishop Collins. He was made a cardinal last year by Pope Benedict, and of course got to use his newfound powers pretty recently. It's also home to the St. Michael's Boys Choir. One of the best boys choirs in the world. Every year they perform a concert at Massey Hall. So you're going to see Massey Hall in a moment. It's just up ahead on the left. It's red brick with black fire escapes out the front. It's doing a bit of renovation at the moment. It looks like a fairly unassuming building, but it is actually one of the best concert halls in the world. It's got incredible acoustics. And it was built by Hart Massey. He made his money from farming equipment. He was like Canada's John Deere. And he built it for his son, who had dreams of being a concert pianist, but sadly died in his 30s from typhoid. Hart Massey just had two rules when he originally built the hall. One was that there would be no discrimination as long as you could afford to use the space, you could use it, which meant that in the 50s it was the only place that the Communist Party of Canada could meet. And there was also a rule that it should be a dry building for 100 years. No alcohol to be bought or sold or consumed for 100 years. So they kept that for 100 years, then built a bar, called it Centuries, and set about making up for 100 years of lost drinking time. Now we're turning back onto Yonge Street, coming alongside the Toronto Eaton Centre, the second largest shopping mall in Canada after the West Edmonton Mall in Edmonton. We're stretching alongside us from Queen to Dundas, and there's a subway stop at either end if you don't fancy walking. And we are coming up to stop number 1 now, Dundas Square, and this is the end of our tour, so this is the final stop. Thank you all so much for joining me. I hope you guys have enjoyed the tour. I will accept tips, hugs, compliments, criticisms, comments or suggestions. Please do enjoy the rest of your day and have a good time around Toronto. Thanks very much, guys.
¿Quieres quedar acá? Es más. Thanks very much. Thank you. Cheers.
Oh, you suck! I'm going to tell you how great this show is. No, you're up. You're up.